Welcome friends to a review of the 2024 Toyota Tacoma Trailhunter. This is the new top-of-the-line model which now coexists with the TRD Pros. And as you see it here, this truck, it stickers for about $66,000. And I'll be sure to talk more in depth about the pricing towards the end, where I'm also going to show you how you can save a substantial amount of money off the MSRP of these new Tacomas and even the new Tundras. But for right now, let's talk about what sets the Trailhunter apart. Well, the purpose of this Trailhunter, it's for overlanding purposes, for those who like to travel off the grid and camp there. That's who the Trailhunter is really built for. And we have here a lot of ARB accessories and 2.5-inch Old Man Emu suspension. And this suspension, it is set up to handle large loads, of course. We also have plenty of underbody skid plate protection with the Trailhunter. And these trucks, along with the TRD Pro, they are exclusively powered by the iForce Max powertrain, which utilizes the 2.4-liter turbo 4-cylinder along with the electric motors to produce a total system output of 323 horsepower and 465 pounds-feet of torque. That is actually 3 horsepower less than the rest of the iForce Max counterparts. And I believe part of the reason why this Trailhunter produces 3 horsepower less, I'm sure it's got something to do with the air intakes, because I'll give you a sneak peek right here. I'll put this window down. That is so absurd. That is one of the features of this Trailhunter that I absolutely love. We have this snorkel on the side to draw in clean air, and the intake noise and the turbo noises and the blow-offs, it is so enhanced and I absolutely love it. But okay, that's good fun. But of course we have other things with this Trailhunter, like the fact that this is pretty much a fully loaded product. We have all of the features, your heated and cooled seats, the large screen, the 360 cameras, etc. And we even have a built-in air compressor in the bed of this truck. So this truck, it basically comes ready to go from the factory with everything that you need for your off-road purposes. We also have the Rigid Industries lighting as well. And as always with my reviews, I will be showing you the official press releases and the official Toyota spec sheets, so you know absolutely everything that there is to know regarding this vehicle. So with that established, let's go ahead and let's get right into my driving impressions now. Alright, so I've been testing this truck for about a week now, and overall my impressions are very good. However, I've also tested the previous generation Tacoma TRD Pro, and I absolutely loved the previous gen Tacoma as well. It was a great driving experience. The naturally aspirated V6, that was a gem. So I really didn't have too many crazy complaints regarding the previous generation product. It's not like the previous Tundra to the new one, where the new Tundra drives significantly better, especially in the handling department compared to the previous one. No, I thought the previous Taco handled fine, and this one primarily just feels better out on the highway. I really like the stability of this truck, despite this being, you know, a lifted product, right? This is about 2 inches higher in the front and 1.5 inches higher in the rear compared to a regular Tacoma. But despite all of that, this truck felt really good during my high-speed testing. But how's the powertrain? So we have here the iForce Max with the turbo 4-cylinder with the electric motors, and I have to say, this thing is genuinely really quick. And right now I have all of the windows up, so that insane intake / blow-off noises, it's going to be reduced quite a bit when you have the windows up. Don't worry, you can still hear it just fine, but it's just, you know, a lot more muted. But aside from that, as one would expect with, you know, close to 500 pounds-feet of torque, the thrust is amazing, but more importantly though, there's no real lag with this drivetrain. That's what makes this so satisfactory during an everyday drive, because you're literally just dusting traffic effortlessly, just 10-20% throttle, and you're just leaving everything behind because of how the power is being delivered to you. Because when you look at a spec sheet, you know, 0 to 60 in about 7-ish seconds, that doesn't sound amazing. But it's not just the 0 to 60, it's from 0 to 30, 0 to 45. You know, your speed limits, you're reaching them so quickly and so effortlessly. That's what the spec sheet fails to convey. But funny enough, there was a previous generation TRD off-road Tacoma behind me. He was really driving up my rear end trying to check out this truck. And of course, there was somebody doing, 30 miles an hour below the speed limit. Once they turned off, I literally just stomped the throttle. And that previous gen Taco, it was just left behind, just a speck in my rear view mirror. I thought that was pretty fitting. But no, as much as I love the previous V6, I have to say, these new turbo setups and the hybrid max setups, they are definitely superior in the real world in terms of acceleration, getting up to speed, etc. And not just that, these drivetrains, this turbo 4-cylinder, it is so smooth, right? It's not vibrating and reverberating throughout the cabin like the twin turbo V6. For whatever reason, these turbo 4-cylinders, they are smoother than the V6s found in the Lexus GX, which I recently tested, and the Toyota Tundra. Plus, I like the way just the engine itself sounds. I don't care how the company does it. I don't care how they get there, but this has a nice bassy tone to it, similar to the Ford EcoBoost 4-cylinders. Ford and Toyota, they definitely tuned their engines to sound pretty decent, to the point where you don't really miss having the V6. And of course, the insane blow-off sounds and the intake noises that this Trailhunter has to offer, that just takes things to the next level. But despite that though, I would still skip the iForce Max. I don't really think this powertrain is necessary. Even the regular turbo 4-cylinder should be more than enough to motivate these trucks, because you have to keep in mind the curb weight does go up substantially by about 5 to almost 700 pounds more compared to the regular turbo 4 Tacomas. The way you see this truck here, it's going to weigh about 5,400 pounds. And again, the curb weight, it's always going to be a range because it depends on what configuration of the truck that you go with. But again, on average, compared to the equivalent non-hybrid version, it's going to weigh about 5 to 700 pounds more. And your handling is also affected. So because of the high curb weight and the way this Trailhunter suspension is set up, when you take your everyday corners in this truck, it kind of has a similar feeling to the Lexus GX I recently tested, where it feels a bit more top heavy. Plus these 33-inch Goodyear Territory rugged terrain tires, they don't really produce the optimal grip for street driving. So when you have the wheel turned and you step on that throttle, you're pretty much always going to be peeling out in the corners, which is not a great feeling. And that, coupled with the weight and the fact that these Trailhunters sit up higher, it's just not going to be your most optimal handling experience out on the street. I think one of the best new Tacomas to go for would be the TRD Sport models with the regular tires. That should give you more grip. That Sport Tune suspension should be able to help these trucks handle better. It's got less curb weight and doesn't sit up as high. So those are some things to think about there. And of course, the TRD off-road with the Bilstein suspension, that's something else to look into as well. Brakes are good though. I have really good confidence in the brakes. It brings this heavy curb weight truck down to a stop, no issues. You never feel like you're going to be rear-ending the person in front of you, so that's good. Now let's move on to the refinement of this truck. So the ride quality here, it's a little bit more on the stiffer side, but once again, I kind of forgive that because once again, this suspension, it's tuned for overlanding and for carrying heavy loads. So the slightly stiffer ride, it's forgivable, but mainly what you're going to notice is all of the smaller bumps, it's going to be transmitted through the cabin, and you really feel that underneath you. And sure, a lot of off-road vehicles tend to have this feeling, but it's more pronounced here with this Trailhunter. And initially it was really stiff because when I got this vehicle delivered to me, the tire pressure was crazy. It was like over 40 psi when this truck really only needs 30 psi in the tires. So once I aired it down, the ride quality was a lot better. But aside from that, the truck is pretty quiet. It's not too noisy in here. We do have here the double pane glass here on the sides. And one thing I like about the Goodyear off-road oriented tires is they're not super noisy. We don't have a ridiculously annoying tire hum, even out on the highway. So that's pretty good. You do get some subtle wind noise, which is to be expected out of a vehicle that sits up pretty high. But once again, the wind noise, it's well contained due to the thicker glass. And the refinement of the drivetrain is excellent as well. Once again, as mentioned before, there is no lag with this powertrain setup. It's smooth, it gets the job done. The 8-speed automatic transmission, that shifts seamlessly, no problems. This truck, it feels great in both the normal and the sport modes. You barely even notice the engine turning on and off. Again, the iForce Max setup is genuinely one of the best that Toyota has come up with. You got the seamless power, good refinement, but as mentioned before, I would still go with the regular Turbo 4 engine. But before we get into the interior segment, there's a couple more things to address regarding the way these trucks drive. So this new Tacoma, placing it out on the road, I mean, it almost feels like you're driving a full-size truck, especially with this lift kit. I mean, it drives very similar to the Tundra that I recently got. Again, something like a regular TRD Sport or a TRD Off-Road, it should feel much easier to drive and to place out on the road. But overall, I do like the visibility here, so that's good. But what's not so great is the real-world fuel economy that you can expect to get here. So Toyota claims that the iForce Max, the way that you see it here, it's supposed to be even more efficient than the regular Turbo 4 Tacomas. You're supposed to get like 22, 24 mpgs. Well, around town, I've been getting like 17, 18. I have never been able to get good fuel economy or anywhere near the estimated fuel economy figures that Toyota provides for these iForce Max powertrains, both with these 4-cylinder iForce Maxes and even the Tundra V6 iForce Max. So the true purpose of these hybrid setups is to give you a more powerful driving experience, to give you that rush of power, not necessarily for fuel economy benefits. But something I absolutely love is the ergonomics of this new Tacoma along with the interior space. So let's go ahead and let's transition into that interior space now. All right, so with the Trailhunter, we have a special mineral colored interior space with like this yellowish orange stitching and piping all throughout. I really love that, but more importantly, this new Tacoma has probably the highest quality interior space out of all the modern Toyota Lexus products that I have tested. Somehow this truck has maintained and carried over the robust, solid interior quality that the previous generation Tacomas had, while of course giving us the new modern Toyota layout for the interior. So far, with a lot of the new Toyota Lexus products that I've tried, the interior space has been a mixed bag. Like for instance, the new Tundra that I tested, the door panels didn't feel that great, and the center console, when you open and close it, it felt like a Fisher-Price plastic toy. Here with the Tacoma, there's absolutely no chintziness here that I have noticed. The armrest feels significantly more solid. Same thing with the center console and the door panels. Everything here feels great. We even have a good amount of soft touch materials throughout. That's the other thing. I did like the 1958 Land Cruiser that I tested. That interior felt pretty well put together, but the materials inside of the 1958 Land Cruiser, it was all hard touch plastic. So that was a bit disappointing for that reason. But here we have the solidity plus the better materials throughout. So well done there. I mean, even the Lexus GX 550 I recently tested had a bit of chintziness inside. None of that exists here. Starting with the door panels, we have a good amount of space here, and we also have one-touch automatic windows for all 4 windows. I do like the Trailhunter badging, and inside of the cabin, I do like this kind of marble designed plastic trim that they're using. That's a great and unique touch. Plus the ergonomics of this cabin and the seating position, it is much improved over the previous Tacoma. I feel like we have much better seat and steering wheel adjustability here with this new truck. It should be able to accommodate all sorts of drivers, short, tall, doesn't matter. The steering wheel feels great. I like the perforations on the sides, all of the buttons on the steering wheel and throughout the cabin, that feels good. Another big improvement with these new Toyota Lexus products, it's going to be the seats and the comfort that they have to offer. You can definitely do longer trips with these newer Toyotas and still feel comfortable. So I'm loving the seats and the way they look. And with the Tacoma, even though we have this large screen, we actually get separate climate controls with physical buttons, knobs, and switches. Absolutely phenomenal. This is great to see, easy to use, And being that this is the top of the line Trailhunter, we do have the heated and cooled seats, the heated steering wheel. All of this works great. As always, I do like Toyota's massive screen. It's easy to use once again. And we have here the wireless Apple CarPlay and the wireless Android Auto. Everything works, there's no glitches, no problems. We also have here the JBL top of the line audio system with the JBL Flex removable speaker. This audio system sounds decent. It's not amazing by any means, but compared to the previous generation Tacoma, this is a huge improvement. It's a decent setup. Again, not like the best in the world, but certainly acceptable and very good. The digital gauge cluster, it's definitely got a learning curve to it, but once you have everything set up properly, it does show you a lot of great information. And I like the fact that there's pretty much no real glare, even in harsh sunlight, with both of these screens. We do have a wireless charging pad here and storage for additional devices. We also have the buttons to control our rear locking diffs and the crawl controls, as well as the 360 cameras. We have 2 cup holders. The center armrest offers a decent amount of space. Same thing with the glove box. We do not have a sunroof here with this Trailhunter, but we do have a sunglass holder, and we have this electronic rear view mirror where you can flip a switch and the camera will show you what's going on in the back. But something to keep in mind, if you have your bed filled to the brim with, all kinds of off-roading items, then the digital camera will serve no use to you. Regardless though, the rear seats, they continue to be rather constricted, similar to the previous generation models, although this does seem to be a bit more spacious than before, but not by much. I am 5'11". I sit closer to the steering wheel than most people my size, and I still don't have, like lavish amounts of space back there. Don't get me wrong, I can sit there. It's okay. It's not like it's completely useless. This is the double cab, which is, the equivalent of a crew cab, if you will. Yeah, this is the full 4-door. If you're really tall, like well over 6 feet, then your legroom and your headroom, it's going to be pretty constricted. But if your family is under 6 feet tall, then this really won't be an issue for you. This is still a rather practical truck, and the seats continue to be comfortable back there. And getting in and out of this truck, despite this being a lifted product, it's really not terrible, to be honest with you. We don't have any running boards here because we have the rock sliders for off-roading purposes, but again, the other Tacomas, which sit much lower, should be even easier to get in and out of. Anyway, let's talk about the bed now. So something that's interesting about the Trailhunter is you can get this truck in both the 5-foot bed, which is exactly what we have here, but you can also get the 6-foot bed if you want. If you go with the TRD Pro Tacoma, you can only get that truck with the 5-foot bed, something to keep in mind. And we do have here the electronically opening tailgate, so you can open it from your key fob, or you can press a button on either side of the taillights to open the bed electronically that way. And being that this is a composite bed, we do not need any additional, bed spray or anything like that. We have that built-in compressor, which I talked about at the beginning, and there's even an outlet in the back for you to plug in power tools or a TV, etc. We also have the electronically sliding rear window as well. You can access that up here next to the sunglass holder. But overall, pretty practical truck, I have to say. A lot of improvements made here over the previous generation Tacoma. Everything from the features, the material choices, how they maintain the solidity of the cabin, it's all great. We have a much better audio system. All of the powertrains are quicker in the real world compared to the previous V6. And the biggest thing of all is the safety. The previous generation Toyota trucks and the SUVs, they were not that safe in a crash test. Well, now the new Tundra and this new Tacoma, they are both an IIHS top safety pick. So when you're chauffeuring your family around, you can be rest assured that you are in a very safe automobile. And this is a big deal. Once again, when you have a family of your own, you begin to think about these things. So as much as I loved the previous Tacoma, I had no real issues with it actually. The biggest update and the change here is going to be the safety for these newer Toyota vehicles. And with that established, let's go ahead and let's conclude this review. Okay, concluding thoughts on the all-new 2024 Tacoma Trailhunter. Overall, I am a fan of what Toyota has done with this truck. But keep in mind, the Trailhunter, it might not be for everyone, but it is certainly fulfilling a purpose regarding overlanding. Plus, it simply looks amazing. I didn't talk about the looks yet. This truck, finished in the bronze oxide colors with the gold wheels, it attracts a ton of attention. People love looking at this vehicle, and I have to say, this is personally one of my most favorite new truck designs that is out today. I mean, the front, the side, the rear, every angle of this truck just looks amazing in my opinion, but let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. But as we saw during the driving segment, despite lowering the tire pressure to the correct levels, this still rides a bit more rough than some people might like. So once again, looking into other models in the Tacoma lineup that weigh less and offer a suspension and tire setup which is better for on-road dynamics would be in your best interest. Perhaps the TRD Sport, the TRD Off-Road, etc. And the other con regarding the iForce Max is the fact that the fuel economy, it's not really that great in the real world, at least with my experience. The fuel tank, it remains the same no matter if you go with the regular Turbo 4 or this iForce Max. You get the 18.2 gallon fuel tank. Interior is one of the biggest pros. We have a better audio system, better interior layout, plenty of features, if you pay up for it of course, and better ergonomics, seating position, etc. And of course, much better crash test safety. Now, as promised at the beginning of this video, here's how you can save 13% off the MSRP of the 2024 Toyota Tacoma and even the Toyota Tundra. You can reach out to AutoCompanion, who is one of the largest car brokers in the United States. He has partner dealerships in the Washington, D.C. area, and he is able to ship nationwide, but shipping is something you have to pay extra for. And he's offering 13% off on the regular trim levels of the Tundras and the Tacomas. So the Trailhunter and the TRD Pro models, that's going to be off limits. Your best case scenario on these trucks, it's going to be paying MSRP. So a fully loaded top of the line TRD Sport, it's going to be about 53 grand. Getting 13% off, you're effectively getting almost 6 grand off the MSRP. That is a big savings. Now, AutoCompanion, he obviously charges a broker fee to access these deals, but even with his fee, the savings are substantial. And he did say that if you sign up with my affiliate link in the description box, he will take some money off of his broker fee. Not to mention his dealerships, they don't play any unnecessary games with you. There's no manipulation tactics being used on you, so you're not paying any additional like nitrogen fees, tint fees, etc. And there is no overpriced dealer fees either. You just select the vehicle that you want, enjoy the savings, and move on. Not to mention, it is possible to lease these vehicles for a pretty reasonable amount of money. And once again, in the description box, I'm going to have a free leasing calculator provided to you by AutoCompanion, which is going to show you the interest rate of a lease, the residual values, and the incentives that you can get in your local zip code. Now, keep in mind, interest rates, lease programs, discounts, incentives, all of these things, they can change every month, but AutoCompanion's calculator will also update every month. So this is genuinely one of the most powerful tools that a consumer can use. And when you run some numbers, I mean, again, that $53,000 TRD Sport Tacoma, fully loaded with the discounts that I talked about, it's going to lease for about $550 a month, which is not bad. But keep in mind, as of right now, December of 2024, the interest rate of that lease, it's about 7.3%, even when you have perfect credit. But despite that high interest rate, the truck leases out for a reasonable amount of money. Why is that? Well, that's because these are pickup trucks with high residual values. They maintain their resale. But there are actual ways to reduce the interest rate of the lease by putting down multiple security deposits, which is a refundable deposit that you get back at the end of your lease. Or if you decide to sell the truck early and break your lease, then you will also get back your security deposits. And you can even do a one-pay lease as well. The purpose of doing either one of these things, it's to once again lower the interest to about 4.3%, something like that. And that means that $550 a month now goes down to about $450 a month. So if you have the cash and the capital to take advantage of something like that, you can see how these trucks are becoming a lot more obtainable. And that's on a fully loaded TRD Sport or a TRD Off-Road. You can get a more basic SR and a top-of-the-line SR. It's going to go for about 40 grand. And with the discounts that I just talked about, you can lease that SR for about $350 a month and with the MSDs or with doing a one-pay lease, you can get that $40,000 truck for about a little under $300 a month. That is exceptionally affordable for a new truck that's under full factory warranty and is genuinely rather safe. Of course, I see the comment sections of some of these videos regarding newer cars and trucks, and it doesn't matter the video, the comments are pretty much always the same. There's always someone walking around showing the top of the line trim level truck, and people always complain about how nobody can afford that and how unobtainable it is. But the reality is that nobody takes into consideration is something like this Trailhunter or a TRD Pro. These trucks, these are not made for the masses. These are top of the line products which are a privilege to drive and own. It is a luxury, not a necessity. So people look at the $66,000 MSRP of these trucks, but they fail to consider the $31,500 entry-level price of a Tacoma. Nobody looks at that. I don't understand why. The SRs and the regular SR5s, those are the models made for the masses. That's like looking at the price of a BMW M3 and completely disregarding the price of the 4-cylinder 330i, which is made for the masses. It makes no sense. I don't know why people keep doing that. These high-performance vehicles, they are genuinely meant for those at the top 10% of the income totem pole. There's plenty of affordable options with the lower trims. And as I just showed you, with resources like AutoCompanion and his discount/leasing calculators, even the top of the line TRD Sports and the TRD Off-Roads become rather obtainable. And I don't know, if you're someone who has actually found value with content like this, make sure to like and subscribe, because I always try to share with my audience ways in which they can save money in today's market. And to be able to get a brand new vehicle under full factory warranty and even 2 years of free maintenance at such affordable prices with no real headache, that is really powerful for the average consumer, at least to know about and to keep in the back of your mind in case you ever need to purchase a vehicle for you and your family. That being said, there's also a lot of competing products to look into, like the new GMC Canyon and even something like the Ford Ranger Raptor, which are actually priced pretty well considering just how powerful they are and what they have to offer. But you're going to have to weigh the pros and the cons of working with some of these dealerships. You know for a fact that most of the Toyota dealers, they are going to take care of you if something comes up. But regardless, that's why AutoCompanion provides that calculator, so you can run numbers on other vehicles and even try to negotiate on your own if you can. Once again, leave your thoughts below in the comment section. But as always, thank you again for watching. Take care and goodbye.